You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wildside, the official Mondo Macabro podcast. I've killed Ryan, so I'm here by myself today, Chris Haskell. I shouldn't say I'm here by myself. I am here with the esteemed superfan, Piss Wizard. He also goes by Bill. Bill, thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you, Chris, for inviting me. This is really, really exciting. Hopefully I don't bore everybody listening to tears.
Yeah, I just want to set this up a little bit because I think there's enough going on culturally right now where it's time to represent the voice of the people. We're tired of the corporate overlords like Jared and Pete telling us what we need to know about Mondo Macabro. It's time for the people to speak.
You know, I couldn't agree more. And I think Jared needs to focus more on shipping out my Halloween stuff. Just mine, though. I don't care if he sends anybody else's, just mine.
Well, he'll look for Piss Wizard, could also be under Corpse Wizard.
Could be under any number of stupid names.
Just to give a little bit more background, I met Bill on Discord of another boutique label. But the cool thing about the Vinegar Syndrome Discord is that it has a lot of subgroups and talking about the real winners in the boutique space. And one of the consistent themes that came out with Bill here, or Pissy or Corpsey, welcomes all names, is that he's a Mondo Macabro diehard, gonna ride or die, and one of the original bundle boys. Going back for how long? Do you remember the first bundle you bought with them?
Oh, geez. Honestly, I probably should have come prepared for that. No, it's been a while. So I do know really vividly like where my Mondo Macabro journey kind of started, and it sort of stopped and then went dormant for a while, and then picked back up big time. So those sort of touchstones I definitely remember. But as far as where the Bundle Boys came from, it's been at least several years.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. Probably I want to say somewhere around like 2018, 2019 was when I think we coined that phrase.
Damn, that goes back a while. But yeah, I'm curious in what you just said. But your story with Mondo Macabro starts before that even.
Yeah, so back around 2006, 2007, I got a job working for a media store out here in Massachusetts, Newbury Comics. I'm sure at least somebody has heard of it. And this is back when they were still a media store / comic book store, not just like a Funko Pop emporium like they are these days. So I remember buying a couple of Mondo Macabro DVDs that we had in stock because we would get really early like Impulse stuff, Synapse, Blue Underground, Severin, and the Mondo Macabro stuff. For some reason, the visuals of it, the packaging, like something stood out from the rest. I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. And I think the first one I picked up was it was either Mystics in Bali or Alucarda. And then after that, I'm trying to remember what my second one was, but those were the first few. And then I got Lady Terminator. And just anytime after watching those movies, anytime a Mondo Macabro DVD would come through in our shipments, as long as I was there, I'd be the first one to grab the one copy we'd get out of the box and make sure it went home with me. But again, I was still kind of in my infancy when it came to these types of crazy movies that we watch.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much collecting at the time. It was more just buying and throwing on a shelf and forgetting about them after watching them once or twice. Until years later, when the girl I was dating at the time, she ended up buying me the Lizard of Woman Skin red case, which I think was the second red case edition that Mondo did.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah. And she got it for me as a present for my birthday. And again, it's like it kickstarted something in my brain where I was like, I remember this company, and like the red case was so weird and different. It stood out so much from everything else.
Right. Right.
Um, and I just got absolutely hooked. So,
Um, where, what was the point in history where you first saw Der Fan? Do you remember?
oh geez. Yeah, actually, so I had seen, well, I'd heard about it long before I saw it. But I couldn't find it anywhere for years. And
Uh,
then I had seen like little clips and little snippets of it. But without seeing it in context, you really don't have any idea what that movie is or what you're in store for. I ended up going and seeing a 35 millimeter print of it in Boston at this theater called the Coolidge Theater, like absolute best theater in Boston, and fell head over heels in love with that movie. Which most people I tell that who have seen it are like, really? Like that movie? Yes, that movie. I'm obsessed with that movie. Um, so I had to go back and get the Mondo Macabro Red Case edition, which had been like long gone at that point.
right.
And I paid way too much for it, and I don't regret it a bit.
Well, that's a perfect segue into one thing I was curious about. So for me, my Mondo Macabro journey started with Lady Terminator.
Amazing.
Just because I grew up in Indonesia and I have like a little bit of an interest in that type of cinema. But it took me a little while to kind of get into it. I think I've only been a bundle boy for like 2 years or 3 years. So
That blows my mind, Chris, honestly, with like how much passion you show for it. Like you host a podcast on it. Like that's incredible.
yeah, well, it speaks to my soul, man.
Mm.
Like the my favorite thing, we've talked about this with Jared before, but like, you know, all these companies like Arrow has a great curation. Vinegar
Mhm.
Syndrome has historically had a pretty good curation, although I know that's a hot topic in 2026. Severin's pretty strong. And
Yeah,
like, but what Mondo Macabro has always been to me is they're the people that are out there in the jungle with like a hatchet clearing paths that other people go down later.
absolutely. I think that's the best possible way to say that. Like, yeah, no, I fully agree. Arrow, great curation, like very like Arrow. Even when Arrow branches out, it always sort of makes sense for Arrow.
Yeah.
Vinegar Syndrome, again, topic of contention. I think they started with really strong curation. I think they've sort of lost their way a bit. But they every time they start to lose me a little bit, they drop something that's like, oh wait, okay, I'm back.
Mhm.
Severin too, strong curation, but Mondo for some reason has always had for me just the most well-defined um, sort of personality amongst all the labels. And it doesn't matter what country they go into, whether it's like crazy Indonesian horror or Bollywood or Japanese cinema, Spanish cinema, everything. It all just they have such a knack for finding that stuff that like no other labels putting this stuff out.
Yep.
Um, and I do think at first I sort of had this weird opinion or idea that maybe this was a label that was just putting out stuff that like was on the toss away pile for other labels that they didn't want. And I really quickly learned that that was completely untrue, that these were
Right.
movies that, while they're way out in the margins, living on the fringes, like absolutely deserve as much attention as any bigger name title that's being released by any other company. And I'm so happy every year to see their fan base growing and getting bigger and more people becoming bundle boys with us. It's really great.
Yeah, I agree. I think of something like Bohachi Bushido, and I think
Oh,
I could name like 8 labels that would have salivated to have that release.
absolutely. And I love when Mondo gets like a big get like that when they pick up something that other labels were like, damn it, like why didn't we get that? Like
Yeah.
Cafe Flesh is another one that I think
Yeah.
falls under that. Dr. Caligari, so many, and Mondo just keeps winning no matter like what they put out. Like Ava Man, like I can't believe nobody else was putting those out, but like I'm so happy that they're not being put out by other labels. Like I actually at this point get not offended, but I get a little mad sometimes when I see like labels that I love that I should be like rooting for putting out movies that I'm like that should be Mondo Macabro. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy that. That should be Mondo. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I do. I do. No, it's because it's like they're one of the few that are doing it for pure reasons too. Like you've heard like Jared and Pete talk about this all the time. Like there's certain movies they won't put out because it's just not their brand. Like they just won't do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty badass.
It is like that's a level of like commitment to themselves and staying true to who they are that they're like I I can't think of a single title Mondo's ever put out where it was like that was their like equivalent of Armageddon for Criterion or something where it's like okay well we'll just make big money on this one and I think that's kind of what Vinegar Syndrome is doing. I don't want to pivot the conversation but like you know Arrow even like these big labels are putting these things out that they know are going to be big money makers. Jared and Peter over here like putting out just the weirdest stuff that they're like, we'll be lucky if we sell 1,200 copies of this within the next 4 years. But like the passion's there and they care about it. And that just, like you said, it speaks to my soul. That's like, that's what I value so much when it comes to this stuff.
Hell yeah. And they're one of the only labels that can boast putting out an entire labia and vulva on a Blu-ray case and getting it past
Yeah.
all the censors.
Yes. And so when I listened to that episode, I was dying in the car when Jared was talking about how they got that through the censors, but then like a little animated like covered up nipple on the other reverse got pulled and it was just like the AI that's now monitoring everything is just so dumb.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, so where are you at in terms of completion? Because I think I was trying to do some research on this to get it right. I think they've had 173 individual releases over the course of their life. Does that sound about right?
That's yeah, that sounds about right. So I live on their Blu-ray.com forum, not the forum itself because I think that's a cesspool. But the front page where it actually like and it's constantly being updated and it shows, every DVD they've put out, every blue case Blu-ray, every red case. I like sort of obsessively go through that with a fine-tooth comb to make sure I'm not missing anything. So if your question is how close am I to completion, there's a few DVDs that have eluded me throughout the years, but thankfully now are getting upgraded. Like,
Yeah.
so that's great. But I'm pretty close to completion on DVDs. And as far as Blu-rays go, for the red cases, last count, I'm missing five, I believe. Um, I'd have to look at the list to tell you which five they are, but I can tell you they're not going to come cheap. I'm actually, it's funny because while we're talking, I'm going to bring up the form right now and see. But
Yeah, I've got.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, if you got it up that fast, go ahead. I was just gonna kill airspace. What you got?
I was going to say, like, while I'm waiting for this to load, I know for a fact one that I'm missing is Private Vice's Public Virtues
Hmm.
with the slipcover.
Hmm.
Another like really early one. Um, I recently picked up Inquisition in the red case at a shop that I go to, Bull
Yeah.
Moose up in New Hampshire. And
Yeah.
like literally, it was like I was so excited to not have to pay $100 for it. I got it for just the obscenely low price of like $15. And then like the next week, they announced that they were putting out a 4K. Like, of course, why not? But you know what? It doesn't matter because Bundle Boys, we live for those red cases. Okay, like I have multiple copies of like all of these. Like I've got movies from Mondo where I've got the DVD, I've got the Blu-ray, and I'll buy the 4K. Like I don't care, and I'm gonna hang on to all of them
Right.
because they look so damn good. But yeah. So Public Vices, there's a couple other ones. I think Devil Incarnate's another one I don't have that I still need the red case of. Ideal Place to Kill. And honestly, looking at the list, I think that's it. So looks like I'm a lot closer than I thought I was,
Oh yeah.
which is great. For me, the biggest my holy grail of all Mondo Macabro, that I when I finally got it was just like it was a couple years ago that I finally picked it up, and I'm still riding high off of it. Was the Jess Franco triple feature Blu-ray?
Oh wow. Nice.
Yeah, that's like the crown jewel of my collection. It gets a special place up on a shelf, where everybody can see it. Not that anybody who comes to my house would ever care, but
Well, but it's very similar to the way that Catholics portray a picture of Jesus up on their wall, right? Like,
wow, that's so true. That's perfect. Yes.
yeah.
It's in a place of reverence where, anybody can just come and stand and do some quiet reflection as they look at a butt.
But it's a bud from from Mr. Jesus himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm man, see, I'm in a tough spot because I only own 62 releases from Mondo.
Ooh.
And it just like, man, the idea of like filling in 110 more, like that's I could buy a house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's,
So
it's absurd.
so
Um,
basically how I'm filling it in is like if we're doing a like I didn't own Living Doll. I had seen it before. But once this got we're gonna talk about that in just a moment. But once that got announced that that's one of the ones we're gonna talk about today, I just went out and got it so I could add it to my collection. I'm kind of doing it that
wow,
way.
nice. That's
I feel
awesome because
like
that
I
means
can do
that
three or
they're,
four a year. I'll just kind of chip away at it, you know.
yeah, definitely. And that's great because that means they're going to announce a Living Doll 4K next month. So I appreciate your sacrifice, Chris.
Sacrifice to the throne of Jess Franco.
That's right. Absolutely. Um, no, that's cool, man. Like, listen, I decided like pretty early on that I wanted to own everything that Mondo had. Like I said, it speaks to your soul, right? Like I've done that with some labels where I've been like, oh, I'm gonna be a completionist on this. I'm gonna buy everything, and I always fall off because either something they'll announce it and it'll release that it's like doesn't really interest me that much, and or they'll start veering off in a direction that I'm not like fully on board with. I'm like, all right, well, there goes that idea. I'm not gonna pour the resources into it, but Mondo's that one label of all of them that I've always just had the goal of just owning everything. Because they're just the best. They're I don't want this to be too, pour praise on them like disgustingly, but they're just the best label of all the boutique labels because of how true they are to their mission, because of how much passion there is from the very small group of people that run it. And, staying that true to yourselves, despite, how good or bad sales might be, or, how lackluster some people might react to your stuff is just that's kind of what I'm in this game for is finding that sort of passion from these companies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it scratches a very similar itch for me of when I was really into punk in high school and like you get
Mm,
that or metal and you get those dudes that are just like, hey, this is what we are. Like this is what
yeah,
we're doing.
yeah,
Kind of chases that itch or scratches that itch for me. I mean,
yeah.
um,
Authenticity is huge.
yeah, there you go. That's what millennials care about, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay, so all right. The last question before we get into some of the meat of the discussion here. So, we're going to talk about two here in just a moment that really represent Mondo Macabro to you. But are there any other titles you want to call out that you just like point people to, or that you really love from them?
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, there's so many that are incredible, and we could have an hour-long discussion on any number of them. But as far as ones that I think are just like the creme de la creme, Dr. Caligari is one that I think
Yeah,
anybody who doesn't own that should absolutely go out and get. Like,
yeah.
if you have even the slightest interest in weird outsider cinema, with a bit of a pervy edge to it, like, can't go wrong with that.
How do you
I know
even
everybody
breathe
loves.
or live in this world without owning Dr. Caligari, though? Like
That's what I'm
that's
saying, man. Like Cafe Flesh, I love Cafe Flesh. Don't get me wrong, but for my money, Caligari is the clear winner on that one. Obviously, The Fan is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's perfect, just about. I don't really throw that around very often, but I think it's like one of the most perfect movies I think I've ever seen.
yeah.
Um, Gemini, Tsukamoto, what a beautiful film.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, Hiroku the Goblin is cool, but Gemini is like next level.
100%.
Trying to think of what else. I'm actually sitting right in front of my case. Oh, you know what? I'll name one more. Who Can Kill a Child? I think is a movie where through talking to people, I've had people be like, "Oh, ew, that sounds, I don't know about that," or being like, "Oh, that sounds stupid." It's like, no, it's such a serious film, and it deals with some heavy themes, but it's done in such a way that like very few films can really kind of put me on my back foot and make me feel uncomfortable the way that movie can. And that's a big deal. So I think those movies, if I had to just recommend a few Mondo titles to people, those would be the ones.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I always have a soft spot for the Indonesian horror, but I think the titles that you brought out do a good job, and some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, it does a good job of bringing out that exactly what you just said. Like it's it's getting harder and harder for me to get like an emotional response to a movie,
Mm,
just because you just see a lot of them, right? So it's like, yeah, I've seen
yeah.
that before, or whatever. But they always find a way of like eliciting some kind of response out of me for the most part, which I respect.
Yeah, man. And a lot of time that response for me is like repulsion or, which I think we're going to start talking about shortly. Or just like discomfort, that disquieting feeling that, Under Siege from Arrow doesn't really bring to you.
Right,
Um,
right,
or, Troll 2 is not really going to make you feel any kind of way other than like laughing at it.
right, right.
Um, and I think like the last thing I want to say is that to me is sort of what separates Mondo from a lot of these companies is if you name any of the big companies that we've already talked about, like a lot of their titles are like, oh, these are funny, like, oh, that's cheesy, good for a laugh with your buddies. There's very few movies in Mondo Macabro, like believe it or not. I mean, I know like Mystics in Bali and the Indonesian stuff and Lady Terminator. Like, yeah, they're crazy. You can sit with your buddies and like watch them and laugh at them. But you know, the majority of Mondo Macabro stuff, I think, is very serious. It's very artistic. It's very well done, and it's they've got ways of making you feel uncomfortable the way like a lot of the movies from these other companies don't. So I think that's really what sets them apart.
Yeah, no, man, I love it. Um, and this trend continues in 2026 based off of some of the stuff that they've announced. So I thought we may spend just like 30 seconds or so, or just a minute or two on kind of like what they announced in the newsletter recently, because I think it's getting people pretty excited for this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say uh, Mondo Macabro's off to a incredible start, starting off with a bang. So yeah, I mean, let's get into the newsletter.
Awesome. The first section is just them apologizing for being late on the Halloween shipment.
Pete, Jared, we forgive you. We knew it was coming. Like you didn't fool anybody when you said you were going to have all these movies out the day after Christmas or something. Like we're good. We can wait.
That's right. Then they get into the fun stuff. So I have not seen Blood Rose before. Have you seen it by chance?
I have, and that's one of the ones that I don't have on DVD. I ended up watching like an old. I think I watched it on Internet Archive actually, like a
Yeah.
really old, really terrible looking video transfer. And I don't remember a ton about it. I watched it years ago, but I do remember it was very um like sexy gothic, sort of reminded me of like Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay. Definitely within that same sort of style.
Okay.
Um, so just based on that, I'm really excited to revisit it in a much better quality, not just on a like an old VHS rip. But I think anybody who vibes with the Jess Franco sort of gothic stuff, Girl Slaves, like is definitely going to get a lot of mileage out of this one. So I'm personally really excited about that one.
Yeah. Great cover too. Some caveman pointing a stick up at some disfigured face.
Really good cover.
Can't wait to see it. They also announced a 70s Spanish thriller called Morbo. Um, I mean, this is how it is with me every time. Never seen it, but I think this movie sounds amazing.
Yeah, I had never even heard of Morbo. In fact, I think there's a character from I want to say like Futurama or something named Morbo that like that was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah,
And then when I read about this movie, I was like, okay, I have no idea what this is, but this sounds amazing. And that's pure Mondo Macabro, right? Like that's like I don't know what this is, but this is an absolute day one purchase. This is why we bundle.
yeah, I had thought I said like when this was announced live with Jared, I said I had seen this because I thought I had. But I had seen a trailer of it on something, or a YouTube clip or something. I had seen a part of it, but the more I dug into it, I was like, oh no, I've never seen this. So so I can't wait to revisit this, or can't wait to see this one.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now they are also dipping into Hong Kong, but I think it's in like a very Mondo way. So they have two titles that they've announced from Hong Kong. One is a Proto Cat 3 called House of the Loot, which sounds badass.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know anything about that one either. I started reading about it and I just immediately was kind of getting like super excited. Like, yeah, Proto Cat 3 stuff from Mondo, like, let's do this. Uh, kind of reminds me of like the excitement I had when I discovered like the Nikatsu Roman porno stuff they had put
Ooh,
out.
yeah,
Like it seems like this is something they've been wanting to do for a while, and I'm thrilled that they finally kicked this door open. I hope there's a lot more to come. But yeah, House of the Loot sounds fantastic.
yeah. And then the wild and a little bit more well known, but still probably under discussed Black Magic with Buddha as well.
Mhm. Yeah, another one I've never seen, but I've known of it through reputation, and I'm really, really excited to get into these ones, man. Like, I don't know, the amount of this Hong Kong stuff that's coming out from so many labels now is this is an embarrassment of riches. Like, those of us who like these types of movies are eating so well over the last
Yeah,
couple of years.
exactly.
Um, but I think it's like what you just said, like they're getting into this Hong Kong stuff, but in such a Mondo Macabro way. Like these are two that you're like, Scream Factory, Shell Factory's not putting these out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And this one, I don't know. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but this is directed by Lo Lei, and I think it's the same dude who has the glowing hands in King Boxer.
Really?
I think it's the same guy.
I mean, let's see. It could be. That's incredible. I mean, just looking really quickly, he's shown up in a whole lot of really cool movies like Human Lanterns, Killer Constable. Yeah, I mean, if that's the same guy, then that's badass. Yeah, Lole, he was in 36 Chambers of Shaolin.
Exactly.
Yep, Five Fingers of Death. I think you're right. I think it's the guy. It's definitely him. That's awesome. And he's in Dirty Ho, which is like not just the best name of a movie ever, but one of the coolest movies I've ever seen.
Exactly. The other thing I'll just say is, you know how there's like some chatter online about like not every movie needs to be 4K, like some are just fine with grain or whatever.
Yeah,
But I love 80s Hong Kong coming into 4K because I feel like these movies are so colorful, so graphic, like so
yeah,
interesting when they're in their best format.
yeah. No, I fully agree. The colors are so vibrant and so bright. Like, why would we not want to see these movies in the best cost possible color palette? Um, and just from what we've seen coming out already, like I don't think you're not really losing that film quality. If anything, it's just enhancing just the incredible set design and all the meticulous work that went into making these movies that had, pretty modest budgets look just so sumptuous and beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Now, two that I'm going to be totally honest, I would have zero interest in these unless they were coming from Mondo Macabro. So, Living Corpse and Hell's Ground, two horror movies from Pakistan. Um, that I'm just gonna kind of go with it, man. Like they get excited about these. They're a co-financier of one of them,
Yeah.
and they love these movies, and so I'm just gonna kind of roll with it. But I don't know, man. I'm skeptical, but I'm gonna give them a shot.
I'm gonna tell you, Chris, all right, like if you value my opinion, if you trust me at all, don't be skeptical. Go into these excited because these are both fantastic. Like Living Corpse, Pakistani Dracula, come on. It's beautiful black and white cinematography. You've got musical sequences to kind of keep the film moving in the middle. Like things get a little, it gets a little boring, like a lot of movies do. But the musical numbers keep things going. It's weird, it's fun, and there's Dracula in a car chase in it. So I mean, like, what else really can you ask for? Um,
Good,
and
that's a good
then
sell.
yeah, that right, like those things alone, there's some sexy dancing, some hot ladies, like it's got kind of everything you would hope that a Pakistani Dracula movie would have, plus a
Okay,
little extra craziness on top.
okay.
And then Hell's Ground is so that's another one where I'm trying to remember when. Um, the DVD came out from I think it was Danger After Dark, which that company's been gone for Jesus so long. I bought that DVD back around like 2008, I want to say, when I was working at Newbury Comics, just based on how cool that artwork was. You know, you've got the woman with the white veil over her face, and she's holding the big ball of spikes on the chain, and it just looked crazy, and it looked like nothing I'd ever seen before.
Right.
I bought it, and it was absolutely crazy, and not like anything I'd ever seen before. Uh, it's charmingly goofy and kind of gory, shot on video. I think it was the first shot on video from that. I believe that was also from Pakistan, if
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
I think it was their first shot on video production, and to later, years later, discover that Pete Toombs had, I think he co-wrote it and also produced it.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then it's got, I think this, if I remember correctly, Stephen Thrower did the score.
Oh shit.
Yeah, there's like he's got a composer credit on it, which is just like the weirdest thing. It's like if this isn't the most Mondo Macabro anything's ever been, then like I don't know what is. So yeah, I'm personally thrilled. I still have the DVD. I'm gonna keep it forever. But really excited to see this get an upgrade and get out there to more people because I think people are gonna really respond well to this one.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm dying over here thinking of like, what's Pete up to? Oh, he's directing a film. Really? Well, he's writing a movie, not directing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a Pakistani co-production with Stephen Thrower doing the soundtrack.
yeah, like what? And I just like to think that Pete and Steven were just like discussing Franco movies in between, writing and composing.
Sitting in a cafe in Lahore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just like what a combination of giants. So,
Oh man, shit, that's awesome.
yep.
Well, they've he Jared teased that people are going to lose their minds when they see the Black Friday stuff this year. So I'm excited for that. And then there's still a whole bunch of stuff he hasn't even announced for March whenever that announcement drops. So yeah, man, I'm pumped for this year. And like we've been talking about, I mean, it's not like we're not going to be watching these anyways.
Yeah, no, there's gonna be some amazing stuff. Like I can't imagine this year won't be. I feel like this has been sort of a trend for Mondo where each year is somehow better than the last, and every year we get some crazy things where we're like, oh my God, I can't believe this came out. Dr. Caligari, Bohachi Bushido, Cafe Flesh, and then the next year starts and you get just rained on with just these fantastic movies and these releases that you never thought you'd see. So, um, yeah, I mean, every year is a banner year for Mondo Macabro, and I think 2026 is going to shape up to be one of the best.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. Especially
Yeah,
now that they have Cafe Flesh money.
yeah, they got that Cafe Flesh money exactly. It's pretty much on the same level as when Vinegar Syndrome released Rad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, actually kind of awesome. Well, okay, so we're gonna switch gears slightly, but I wanted to do this section last because I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. So thanks for that background into yourself, man. I think my assumption is that anybody listening um who's a super fan is gonna resonate very well with your passion. And anybody who's not, I think that's gonna sway some folks. And I'll just say before we get to the critical review section where we get to sound super serious and intelligent, um, that I just want to echo everything that Piss has said so far. Like Mondo's just a hell of a company, man. Like if you're gonna throw your money somewhere this year, just give them a shot.
100%, absolutely. I can't think of any company more deserving of people's money and their time and energy, and they're just the one company that's not going to let you down.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Speaking of not getting let down, so I posed a question to you when we were discussing about you coming on of like just pick a couple of movies that to you really identify or that really kind of resonate with what Monocabro is to you. And we went through like four or five or six or something, but the two that we landed on, do you want to introduce them?
Sure. So, yeah, we went through a couple, and I think a couple of my suggestions you guys had already done recently on episodes. I think one was Lady Terminator, which listen, who's not going to choose Lady Terminator when you give them that option?
Right.
Um, but the two I landed on were Mystics in Bali because that's just it was the first one I ever saw. It's still to this day like not just the movie being amazing and just being so crazy, but the Mondo Macabro element of that release and the from the entry music to the the trailer reel and everything about it. It it's just it was like a pivotal moment for me as a collector and sort of changed the course of where my movie watching went from there.
Yeah.
So that was a perfect one, and then it just happened to be that that was coming out in the October bundle, so that was perfect.
Yeah.
And the other one was Living Doll, which Living Doll is a movie we're gonna get really into it, but like I chose that one because it's a movie that I've never ever once heard anybody talk about it. Like nobody's ever said, "Oh, have you ever seen this movie?" or "Hey, I just watched this movie." And I think that's sort of criminal. I don't know if it's, obviously it's never had a release other than this DVD from Mondo, which I'm sure. And I can't imagine it's on a lot of people's shelves at home. I mean, people obviously bought it, but um, I think it deserves a lot more viewing than it gets. So, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
Hell yeah, dude. I was so excited to watch this. I had seen both of these before, but like I told you, I had not did not own Living Doll, so this gave me an excuse to rectify that. Um, and then for reasons we've already covered in the podcast, I was super pumped that you chose an Indonesian horror.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
hell yeah. Let's start with Mystics in Bali, if you don't mind, because
no, for sure.
we've covered Indonesian horror on here in a couple different ways. So I think this conversation will be good. But like we've never covered anything like Living Doll. So I think it'd be cool to end with that.
Yeah, perfect.
So 1981, is that right?
Yeah, year I was born, 1981. Yep, great
Hell
year.
yeah. I'm an
I think
82
it was
baby.
same year as Blade Runner. So two titans of cinematic history.
Pak Indonesian, you say if you say Mr., you say Pak or Bapak. So Pat Jut Jali or Jalil, Jut Jalil comes out with a horror movie that was funded by the government as because well no that's not entirely true. There was a program from the government that required importers of foreign movies to produce local movies as well. And so if you were going to bring in American or European movies into Indonesia, they were requiring you to produce a certain amount of film for the country as well. So this was going on for a while, and they got a little mm, hungry to move outside of just Indonesia and try to
Mhm.
make some international movies. So this guy, Mr. Orpat Jut Jalil, was asked to helm this movie that was like all in on Balinese folklore and like what's the word, like not religion but like spirituality,
Yeah.
but told in more of a Western way because Indonesian movies had a lot of music in them and they were kind of more comedy and they were just very different.
Mm.
So they make this attempt at producing a Western style horror movie. And my favorite story about this before we get into the movie is they didn't have a white woman to play like one of the leads. And the producer's wife just saw this German tourist that she thought was hot. And she asked her if she would like be the lead in this movie if they paid for her to stay in Bali for a few extra, weeks or months or whatever. And she was like, sure.
That's insane. I had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah. So they found their Western or white lead. Um, and
Wow.
the basic premise is more just around this curious American, almost like a Black Emmanuel type of, this curious like Westerner coming in and like learning about the culture, but it takes a bad turn for her.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what else am I not doing in terms of setting it up?
No, I mean, listen, that's a great setup. And you, having lived in Indonesia, which I think is incredible, you obviously know a lot more about the cultural elements, probably even the mystical elements. I went into this knowing absolutely nothing about Indonesian film. I think I had never, if I had ever seen an Indonesian film before this, it was by accident. And I couldn't tell you if I had or hadn't. So this kicked open doors that I didn't even know existed, and it was just one of the weirdest, just most bat-shittingly insane things I had ever witnessed. And at this point in my, movie watching life, I thought I had kind of seen it all. This showed me that I hadn't even scratched the surface, man. Like, like we could get into so many crazy moments in this movie that are insane, but I mean, I think my favorite part of the whole movie is when the heroine just out of nowhere just vomits up a bunch of like what looks like pea soup mixed with carrots and just for no reason at all several live mice. Uh, and her boyfriend's standing there and he's literally just like, oh, maybe it's from the restaurant we ate at last night. What? Like, what are you talking about? If my girlfriend starts throwing up live mice, I'm probably just gonna run away and let her die. But you know, freak out a little bit more than like, oh, I guess we shouldn't have eaten at that pizza place last night. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And then from there, I mean, it just goes so off the rails and it's so crazy. And, I'm curious to hear like any insight you have on it because everything I have for it is just gut reaction. Just like how it made me feel, total vibe, you've got shaman turning into like weird pig men and this the world's most annoying witch. You know, I think the only witch in all of the film world that I've ever seen that was worse than this one was from that Slavic film Jack Frost.
Oh
There's
my
the
God.
there's the little crone that lives in like the house that's up on chicken legs. Uh, she's a little bit more annoying than this one, but it's real close. So and it's just the gore scenes are crazy and so inventive. The scene where, whatever, sure, she rips her head off and her head flies around with entrails hanging from it, and then uh, basically sucks the baby out of a woman through her vagina. Which, again, is this a thing in Indonesia, Chris, where if something really insane happens to you, your reaction is to just either like look wide-eyed and bewildered or just like be like, "Oh, that was weird." Because when the woman sees a disembodied head just basically de-impregnating her, she just kind of opens her eyes wide and is like, "What?" And it's like, what world have I fallen into at this point? It just really felt like it felt like Alice down the freak rabbit hole. So,
No, that's how they deliver babies in Indonesia.
oh, perfect, good. This is the Indonesian healthcare system at work. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. That was just a
But
very normal scene for everyone.
fantastic. And the
Um,
only other thing I want to say is it directed again. I'm not even going to try to say his name because you do it so expertly, and I'd sound like an idiot. But I believe directed by the same person that directed Lady Terminator, right?
that's right.
Now, does he just have a thing for anthropologists? Is that like his thing? Because I believe the the main woman, Kathy, in this is an anthropologist, which Lady Terminator, as we all know, she's not a lady, she's an anthropologist.
I guess, yeah, I guess he has a type.
He,
Um,
he
but
definitely has a type.
they so there's two things that are probably relevant to that I don't want to sound like I'm some historian on Indonesian cinema. I'm not, but just in reading a little bit, I picked up a few tips. One is that it was very common for local cinema, especially local horror, to reference like the mystical side of the culture. So for for example, the head with the entrails coming out, that's a um, spirit in Indonesia. It's called Layak, Leyak.
Really?
Yeah, or Layak. I think you say it Layak.
Yeah.
And some people spell it Leak, like leak.
Okay.
Um, but that's a that's like a common part of the folklore of Bali.
Wow.
So they would have audiences would have been at least somewhat accustomed to seeing that figure. It would have been weird to see it represented by like a white lady, but
Yeah. That was everybody in the cinema was like, you know, she's a little too white to be a leak. uh
exactly.
that's really cool actually. So yeah, and that kind of like it's the way you see a lot of like Japanese cinema and the yokai and stuff.
Yeah,
All these things that are so ingrained in that culture going back centuries and centuries. Here in America, we don't have that. Like,
right.
so I mean, Jesus doesn't just randomly show up in random movies. And if he did, I'd be like boring. But I'd be like, take your head off, Jesus.
Yeah, zero
Uh,
entrails on that dude.
yeah, no entrails on that dude at all. Like,
No, I think yeah, Balinese art, the closest I can kind of draw a reference for like Americans listening is the whole like Dia de los Muertos thing in Mexico.
yeah,
There's a lot of similar acceptance of death and like intrigue in the afterlife. And Bali especially, I can send some photos. I'll see if I can. I don't have to ask Ryan how much we can do with photos, but I'll try to upload some photos I took last time I was in Bali because they actually celebrate like really dark, fucked up monsters over there, but they do it in a way that's like very um like they're there to guard off evil spirits, not to attack us.
yeah. See, no, I think that's really amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I've always been really interested in different cultures and the way they look differently at death than the way we do in the West. Um, so to know that Indonesia and in Bali they have these customs, like that just makes me want to look even deeper into it, which I think if when I do is just going to enhance my appreciation for mystics in Bali and just things like Queen of Black Magic, where
Yeah.
for me it's like that dude took his head off, that's crazy, and then when I watch it again, it's gonna be like, oh, okay, all right, now I'm sort of seeing the sort of connective tissue to their
Yeah.
culture, which I think is really great.
Yeah, and at some point in history, Islam came in a big way. Like I think a lot of people don't know that that country is like 95% Muslim.
Wow.
And so Bali is the only island that's not Muslim. I mean, I'm sure there's people on it, but it's a Hindu island. I'm sorry, a Buddhist island. And in fact, it's a little bit of a trip because you see Nazi symbolism everywhere on the island, but
Gee.
it's not the Nazi symbols, it's the Buddhist symbols. And
Right.
they just happen to be the same, but like it's the Buddhists did it first. The
I
Nazis.
would I would I would even posit that the Buddhists did it better.
And you know what? I don't even know if that's a controversial statement.
Not a hot
I'll
take,
back you
but
on that.
yeah, thank you.
We're gonna take a stand as a podcast. The Buddhists did it better. Oh shit, that's funny.
Absolutely.
But they are very sensitive about the spirituality on the island. Like
Mhm.
for example, there's one day a year where they have this massive party where they bring out all the evil figures and faces, or not evil, but the grotesque side of these kind of figures that they make themselves. And they have a
Mhm.
huge party in the street, and then the next day is a day of silence. So they shut Wi-Fi off on the island. They don't have power, and they just take a day of like they're just going to be silent for one day.
Wow, that's
Um, yeah, so there's the locals like that still live there, although there's another whole topic of controversy about Americans and Australians moving in and kind of hurting this. But
yeah,
in generally speaking, anybody who's Balinese is going to be very sensitive to religion and spirituality from before, like pre-Islam. And
yeah.
so they actually had to shoot this movie on Java, which is another island next to it where Jakarta is, and it's like a bigger island, just in order to avoid the ire of the locals who had been like, "What are you doing with our culture?" Basically. Um,
Wow. Now, is that
so
because they had a white woman in that role, or was it just because of all the themes that they were using? Like, um, it's that's wild that they had to actually leave the island to get this done. Otherwise, they would have seen probably protests and people trying to hold up the production. So,
I guess so. Yeah, I think I don't know if this is a perfect parallel, but like in Hawaii, like the locals are super sensitive to kind of like appropriating Hawaiian culture.
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's just somewhat along those same lines, is the best I can tell. I'm sure
Yeah, I
someone.
mean, I would listen. I would say, colonialism has probably created some problems around the world, and
Right.
so this is just another offshoot of that. But
Yeah.
no, it's really interesting. So that's what I'm talking about. This isn't just some throwaway exploitation stuff. Like these are films that are rooted in deep, long-standing traditions, very culturally sort of relevant to these people. So, what we're kind of sometimes watching and we're dismissive of, and we go, "Oh no, that was crazy. This is such trash," is really something that would have resonated probably with even some of your just average run-of-the-mill cinema goers. I mean, I'm sure people that were going to see it liked kind of fringe weird stuff. But I mean, you could sit down with your your parents and watch that movie, and they'd at least be able to sort of connect with it on some levels.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, man. I think it, but it is fun. I don't want to I don't want to make this too academic, like in the sense that it just is a really fun, batshit crazy movie to watch as well.
It is. Oh, it absolutely is. It's one of the most fun movies I think I've ever watched,
Yeah.
and it's funny because like a lot of movies like that, like I want to watch them all the time. This one, I don't get the urge to revisit as much as I do something like even Queen of Black Magic,
Hmm.
um, or Lady Terminator. But at the same time, it's part of it is because everything in it stays so vividly in my
Right.
brain
Yeah.
that like I don't have to keep going back to it because I just feel like I got so much out of it, the couple times I have watched it. So I think that that just speaks to just what a great weird movie it is and why I think it really just perfectly represents Mondo Macabre.
Yeah, I think, but well said. And the other interesting thing, just kind of to build on that, maybe one of the reasons that does is honestly like the whole thing is really shot between two sound stages and maybe one outdoor scene, right? Like the
Yeah, it's all
the
very self-contained.
yeah, it's not like a chamber piece exactly, but it's not too far from that. And so like it also has this weird element of just being like you're just fully immersed in like the mystical side of it for most of the movie, and then like a bedroom and she's recovering, or but like
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's like there's like it's an exercise in sort of like simplicity, which also helps it stand out a little bit because it really lets the crazy shit breathe and like just be crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's easily digestible insanity.
Yeah. That's a great name for the podcast, actually.
We'll have to
Uh,
start a new one.
yeah. Okay, we'll start a fan cast.
Perfect.
Okay, so changing gears completely. Um, going a few years in the future. This is 1990, I believe, right?
Um, Living Doll, yeah, I believe it was 1990. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Oh, I just brought it up on Letterboxd. Yep, 1990. Good memory, sir.
Perfect. And
Um,
Penis Randall is a producer here, aka Dick Randall.
like
Um,
when you said that, I'm sorry, that made me die. I was not expecting that at all.
um, Dick Randall's like one of the legends of Mondo Macabro for me. I mean, just legends of cinema for me in
Yeah,
general.
yeah. With
Um,
so many connections to Mondo Macabro, it's like sort
yes.
of absurd when you go back. But yeah, continue.
I mean, For Your Height Only is one that I'm always gonna like try to point people to if I have a chance because it's just one of the craziest watches.
Oh yeah. Like listen, everybody needs to see that movie 100%. Like that's one that if Mondo said this year that they were bringing that to Blu-ray or 4K, I think there would be a huge celebration. I think so many people want to see that one given some new life. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, as far as Dick Randall goes, I mean also not Mondo Macabro, but I believe he produced Pieces, if I'm not mistaken. And then as far as Mondo Macabre stuff goes, Girl in Room 2A, I think French Sex Murders, Don't Open Till Christmas, like and on and on and on. And then just like what a amazing stable of movies that you had your hands in.
Yeah, I know. One of the guys that doesn't get ever brought up in terms of like the Jack Hill types or like some of these dudes that went to the Philippines a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a legend, and I'm really glad Mondo's helping celebrate his work, or at least as a producer. But not to take anything away from the writer and director of Living Doll, because holy shit,
I think it's also worth mentioning that it was a co-directed film by George Dugdale and Peter Leighton, who only directed two films, which was Living Doll, and I believe the other one was Slaughter High, which
yes,
uh, first of all, what a resume. But also like Slaughter High is one of those ones where it's like that's definitely way more well known. Vestron put it out on Blu-ray years ago. I think a lot of people who are really into slashes and stuff have seen that one. Um, so I think those people need to go back. They need to dig back and see Living Doll. But and another fun fact: George Dugdale was married to Carolyn Monroe, who was the
oh no
star
shit,
of quite a few, old school Hammer movies, along with, I believe she was also in Maniac, Last Horror Show, Paul Naschy's Howl of the Devil, and she had a cameo in Saint Franco's Faceless. So you know, what a power couple those were. So put them together with Dick Randall, and of course you were going to get magic.
Pure magic.
Pure magic.
It's the first time on this podcast we've talked about necrophilia.
It's about time. The people have been asking for it.
The people have demanded it.
All right.
And it's an interesting one because it's not, see that there's a side to Mondo Macabro that I really like. And the only other company that I can see that kind of does this is Connie, where they're willing to go to the dark corners of the world for content
Mm.
as long as the movie is not mean spirited. Like they find stuff that I feel like it's not the kind of stuff that like Massacre Video or Unearthed Films is putting out, where it's just got like a
Right.
nasty bite to it.
Yep.
There's always something kind of redeemable in the way the story's told, and so I think that's true for this as well.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. Trying to think of like what Connie's really did Connie release Freeze Me? Was that them?
Ooh, I'm not great with that kind of stuff on the spot because I have no
Oh,
memory left in my brain.
well, if
But
it was, for some reason that movie jumped into my mind. Which, like, again, that's a movie that's a tough watch, but again, it's got sort of an uplifting ending and it's not mean spirited. But to go back to what you were saying, like,
it is Connie,
yeah,
yeah.
this movie, Living Doll, definitely doesn't have a mean streak. If anything, it's got sort of the opposite.
Right,
This is not necromantic where we're sort of fetishizing and watching this guy's like descent into hell, so per se. I mean, this guy definitely, Howard, the main character of Living Doll, he's not going on a very fun journey. And it certainly doesn't end on an up note, but he's not out there hurting anybody. I mean, this is not the story of a serial killer. Um, it's almost as much a drama and then sometimes comedy as it is a horror movie. I mean, I believe
yes,
it's 40 minutes into the film before we even get our first glimpse of anything that can really be called horror.
right,
When you first see Howard with Christine's body in his apartment.
right, right.
Up until that point, it's more of just like a series of I was writing some notes while I was rewatching it, and it was just like it's basically just like scenes of abusive workplace environment, aggressive slumlords, a dysfunctional friendship, and Howard just being like batshit insane in love with a woman who just happens to be a rotting corpse. Um, and I think what's sort of sweet about it in a weird way is that he's not a necrophiliac per se because he doesn't really realize she's dead through most of the movie. He sees her as alive. Like whenever it cuts to sort of his POV when he's with her, they sort of superimpose a shot of the actress like out of her disgusting makeup and talking to him. So really he's just in love with this girl, um, and trying to like make a good life for her in his little rat infested apartment. So it's really kind of sweet. And I don't think he actually even gets into the real necrophilia meat and potatoes until way later in the movie, in sort of one of the most disgusting scenes, more implied than shown. Um, but as far as this movie, the horror comes in the fact that you sort of know that it's completely possible that there are outcast people living on the margins of society, suffering from untreated mental illnesses, who could absolutely be doing things similar to what Howard does in this movie.
Exactly.
You hear about these things in the news all the time, really disquieting stuff. This is not a gross out movie necessarily. It's not a gore film.
No.
It's more existential. It's more like it gives me this feeling of just deep sort of dread and discomfort. And for me, that's things don't scare me anymore. I think you're probably the same. I think most people are. You don't get scared by movies when you're an adult and you've seen everything we've seen. But if
Right.
something can make you feel an emotional response, and make you just sort of feel icky or queasy, that's the next best thing, at least in my opinion.
No, absolutely. And I think a lot of it is because of the really smart choice they made to show it from his point of view, like you said.
Yeah,
Mm,
I think it would have been a mistake to have this movie be like from the point of view of like a cop trying to like track down a killer or something.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Like he
uh,
he genuinely just loves this girl. And like
yeah,
it's a very pure. There's a movie. One of the partner labels for Vinegar Syndrome is called Club Super 8, and they're putting out Swedish exploitation.
Yep.
And there was a movie that came out in 1962, so I guess a few years before this, called The Doll.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I bought it. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh man, it's a fantastic double feature for this because it tackles the same themes of like, what is it like to be lonely in a world where you can very easily be lonely and just be left to your own devices?
Yep.
Like and imagine if that's true in Sweden or I guess the UK. It's, I mean, probably triply so in the US where we like our freedom.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Loneliness is definitely a universal language. And I think it's even more prevalent now. Maybe not, but I mean, like now, there's this sort of epidemic of loneliness, right? Like male loneliness,
yeah,
and people are so we're more connected than ever through the internet, but we're less connected than ever as far as personal, like one-on-one interaction goes. So the more connected we become, the more isolated we are. So it really does. Watching this movie, it feels like almost relatable, which you hate to say. You don't want to feel like any relatability with this guy, but at the same time, you can't help but realize it.
yeah.
So
There's just to build on that, there's something that happens in this movie where as the body decays, I think they do a good job of putting him in increasingly stressful situations that kind of match the decay. And so it's this weird thing. I don't know if it's subconscious, or I don't know if they did it on purpose, but I'm going to give them credit for it, where as her body gets worse and worse, he starts to kind of lose it because he gets pressure from the outside to reconcile with what he's doing.
yep.
And it ends in a way where it becomes a lot for him, and maybe even too much for him. I don't want to spoil it, but like, like you said, it doesn't end on an upbeat note. It's not like they go off and like she's reanimated or they have a good life together.
Yeah.
It ends in a very real way, but it never feels like this is a heavy Academy Award winning drama. Like there's always a kind of lightness to it, and they're just kind of like exploring like what happens if you like, I can almost imagine them saying like, well, what would happen if we were to sit down and make a movie about a guy that loves this woman who's dead, but like he doesn't see her as dead. She's talking to him and she's engaging with him, and like in his mind, this is all really happening.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that's. I'm going to be with you on this. I think I'm going to give them credit that they knew what they were doing, because you're absolutely right. Like, as her body starts to decay, every time a shot cuts back to like her, and she's a little grosser, a little slimier, which I got to say too, the makeup effects in this are fantastic.
Really good.
They're simple, but they're disgusting, and they
Yeah.
really do a great job with it. Whoever did the makeup effects, I haven't looked it up, but I hope they went on to have a very good career because they deserved it. But yeah, he at the beginning of the movie, the only problem Howard has is he loves this girl who really doesn't know he exists. But that's it. He's gainfully employed. He's a pre-med student, or he's a med student in college. He's working
Mhm.
at the morgue. He's got a best friend. He's he's kind of got it all, like as far as like how he's doing, gainfully employed with a social life, just wants this girl. And as she decays, his problems just start mounting. He's getting more pressure from his landlord, his slumlord landlord, and Eartha Kitt, who's apparently his old lady landlord's best friend, um, to pay the rent. And then his boss is mistreating him even more and more, and then he loses his job, and just everything starts to pile up for Howard. And then, she just gets worse and worse. But I think the real tragedy too is it's such a quick, simple scene. And I think the first time I watched it, to be honest, I think I was too engrossed in the grossness of it and sort of like the weird, icky feelings.
Yeah.
I did not realize that there was a blink and you miss it scene where he has her, he must have her license or her wallet or something that he got from the morgue. And a little voiceover of her says, like, if you find this, I suffer from a form
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
catalepsy. Please, bring me to a doctor or to a hospital. So realistically, I mean, it's 100% possible and probable that she wasn't actually dead when they brought her in. And I believe there's a part where Howard like says he thought her eye twitched, and his piece of crap boss is basically just like, she's brain dead. That's what happens. But no,
Yeah.
she's probably alive, and you know, maybe that's why he sees her as still alive because he's convinced himself if he can find her, he can sort of bring her back. Um, but yeah, man, it's a real bummer. But also sort of there's a big heart to this movie that I think is overlooked and missing from a lot of movies similar to this. Like you couldn't say the same thing about Necromantic, you know. And looking through reviews, I was before revisiting it, I was looking through letterbox reviews and I was sort of appalled by a lot of really low reviews for this, like 1 or 2 stars of people that are basically like knee-jerk reacting to it just basically because they don't think that movies about necrophilia should be made,
Mm.
which that's weird puritanical like why are you watching this movie if you feel that way? Like how did you even come across this movie if you feel that way? I mean, I'm not endorsing necrophilia, but at the same time, I don't think it's such a taboo subject that we shouldn't have movies about it, you know.
Right.
We've seen plenty of films that tackle these subjects. Necromantic 1 and 2, Della Morte Della More, I think
Yeah.
is one that does a really wonderful job with it. But this one deserves to be in that conversation right among those, you know, sort of titans of necrophilic cinema. Um, so just looking through a couple of the notes that I made while I was watching this. First of all, I'm absolutely in love with the really out of place, sultry sax music that's in this movie. Which then sort of just like alternates between that and this melancholic sort of piano music.
Right.
Um, but it's really tonally just doesn't make any sense. But I think it sort of adds to the sweetness of the scenes between Howard and Christine's quickly deteriorating body.
Right.
Um, Also, this is a Christmas movie, 100%, because in the first shot of the film, in the hospital lobby, there's a Christmas tree with presents under it. So I think everybody listening should add this to their Christmas watch list for next year. Um, Couple other things. One, I learned this. I didn't know this. Eartha Kitt, they got her for 1 day of shooting. They could only get her for 1 day. Um, so they had to just like film all of her scenes alongside the old lady that they had brought in to be the landlord. I don't understand like at what point in the production were they like, you know, we've got this old lady who's a real hag and she's doing a great job as a landlady, but you know what would just put this over the top? If Eartha Kitt was here abusing Howard, that would just come on. Like what was the thought process that went into that? Do you like do you know anything about that or is this all new to you too?
No, no, I don't actually. No, but there's the special features are okay on it, but I do hope that that they add more, you know, if they get to release this again. There's an interview with the writer that I saw the first half of. I don't know if he talks about it later, but he's awesome in that interview. He's a super interesting dude.
I definitely need to go back and watch that. I have not dug into the special features. I knew they were slim, but I'd be really interested in hearing what the writer has to say
Yeah.
about this movie. So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll definitely go back. Um, I do love that this is a British production, but it's supposed to be set in New York City, like something like Brooklyn or something.
yeah. Right.
So aside from a few exterior shots of like the Twin Towers. It's just all in like British pubs and stuff, and it's like not American whatsoever. They brought in some like Budweiser like ashtrays to throw on the tables to kind of like Americanize it. But other than that, you're like, and I think that's part of what really works in the film's favor is it's very it's out of time and out of place. Like
Oh,
everything
100%.
feels kind of off. Like you know, half the movie takes place in this morgue that they work in, and they've got it lit with these just like blue and pink gel lights for no reason whatsoever. And you just really can't pin down what's going on. There's a scene with Christine's boyfriend in the hospital, and he just keeps slipping between his New York and British accents, and I was dying because it's just like it was just so funny because it was just rapid cycling between the two. Um, I just thought that
Yeah,
was really great.
you know, you're giving me
Um,
an idea. I wonder if I don't know if I could put together this list, but I might start one. There's certain movies like Brazil does this. This movie does it. I think Durfan actually does it as well. There's certain movies that they exist without being in a specific point in history.
yeah, yeah.
And I kind of
There,
think that like you've just uncovered like a tiny subgenre that's one of my favorite. I really love when movies do that. Delicatessen is one.
yep, absolutely.
Um,
Even like I think talking about Genet, like City of Lost Children's another one
yes,
where like
yes, yes.
where is this? When is this? There's I do really love that in films where, I think the last movie that really hit me like big time where I felt like that sort of being in out of time and space was important to it was It Follows, which, regardless of anybody's opinion on that movie, I personally really like that movie. But and I watched an interview with the director where he said this was an intentional choice. Like it feels both 80s but also like it could have been 2022 at the same time. All
Okay.
the interiors of the living rooms with like the wood paneled walls and the shag carpet and the
Oh,
old TVs. But then the girl that's friends with the main character, she's holding this little seashell, compact, like it would be a mirror compact, but it's
mhm.
like an e-reader that she's reading like books and stuff on, which absolutely would not have existed in that time period.
Yeah.
So he had definitely intentionally sort of like peppered in these modern things into this sort of retro setting to sort of just add to that feeling of being sort of on the back foot and feeling uneasy. Uh, yeah, I think it would be really cool to go through and compile a list of movies that sort of do that.
You've got a list of what is it, 700 or 600 mind-bending movies?
Oh, yes. On my letterbox, that's sort of an ongoing project of mine. It's Brain Melt Cinema. It's a
Brain melt.
567 on there.
Uh,
Movies to lobotomize yourself to. And you better believe Living Doll's on there.
I might link it if you're open to it, just to get people because it's a pretty comprehensive list. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I'd love that. It started just as like a thing for me to keep track of just what I considered sort of some of the oddest movies I'd seen, and it sort of just turned into sort of a passion project. And the, it would be really easy to get that list up to six, seven, 800 if I wanted to, but I'm trying to be really not picky with what I put in there, but it has to be A, something I've actually watched, and B, like not just weird for weirdness sake, but something that really made me feel a certain way. So I'm not just throwing every weird movie anybody's ever seen on there, but just sort of trying to curate it more to like sort of my taste and personal, but hopefully something that anybody could look at and be like, hey, I need something strange to watch tonight, and have 600 movies to pick from.
Right. You're being very Mondo Macabro about it.
I am, yes. I'm trying to. It's curation, like I'm taking a page out of our boys' book.
Awesome.
Um,
Well,
so
anything else on Living Doll?
yeah, so actually, one thing you just said, I thought was really uh, it's funny that you mentioned Brazil, um, because did you catch the connective tissue between Brazil and Living Doll?
Ooh, let me think about that for a second. No, that was an unintentional thing that I said. What are you going to call out?
So, near the end of the movie,
Yeah,
Howard's landlady, she's snooping outside his apartment door,
yeah,
and you can hear the TV's on. The TV's on really loud, and there's music playing along with gunshots. That audio is the same audio from in Brazil, at I believe it's the Department of Records where Sam Lowry works. All of the employees are like avoiding working whenever the boss goes into his office, and
yeah.
they turn a movie on their little screens, and it's the same music and gunshots. And now I've done some research to see like what movie is this.
Right.
um and everything I can find is basically that it's like the music isn't actually connected to the film that they're watching, like so it's not something that actually exists. It's just sort of like some old Western footage with some music that Terry Gilliam peppered on top of it. But it's so bizarre to me that when they made Living Doll, they just said, you know what, here, that's a perfect music cue. Like, let's use that to be what the Christine's body is watching on TV when Howard's at work.
I love that connection, man. Well done on your research. Holy cow. But yeah, there we go. I think, I mean, this is not a Brazil podcast, but
Yeah.
I could talk about that movie for hours. That movie was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's definitely on my list of probably like my 20 favorite movies of all time.
Oh yeah.
I could talk about that forever. So if you ever if you ever just want to hop on a Zoom call and just talk about Brazil, I'd be open to it.
Okay. Nice. Awesome. Well, man, Mystics in Bali, Living Doll, plus everything else you mentioned earlier. I mean, the truth is that I don't know that there's a movie in Mondo Macabro that I would necessarily recommend to like a 14-year-old who's interested in the wild side of cinema. Maybe Lady Terminator.
Yeah, I mean, as long as like, listen, a kid's got to learn about vagina snakes at some age. Why not 14?
You do learn a lot about life, necrophilia, incest, underage sex. There's a lot of taboo topics that are just casually discussed here.
Yeah, this
Um,
is going to be an exciting one.
but man, I know that you're not necessarily like trying to promote anything specific, but I do want to say that if anybody's interested in the way that you break down movies or talk about them, there's at least one place online where you and I both are writing currently. We're slowly going through all the Shaw Brothers stuff, and I think I might link it just not to promote it. Like we're not trying to make any money off it or anything, but just to engage in film discussion. I think that's one thing I hope never gets lost is these movies are fun when you can like unpack them and like find new stuff that like I would have never thought about the Brazil Connect. Like there's just different things that happen when you're doing this in a community. So I love the fact that you see it like that and you're joining in. And yeah, man, this is exactly what I wanted out of it. I think you nailed it today.
I really appreciate it. Honestly, just being able to sit and talk with you has been so fun. Yeah, link the Shaw Brothers thing because that's your baby. Like you came up with that idea, you pitched it to the group, and I'm so happy that we've got what do we got 6 or 7 people contributing right now, and the way you formatted it is great. Like the more people we can get to read that, even if it just ends up being 10 people take interest in it, it's what a fun experiment to go through all the Shaw Brothers like Arrow box sets to start, and then who knows where it can go from there.
Right.
Um, I love your passion and sort of between this podcast and that and other things. So yeah, I'm really thankful to just be part of anything you put together. So
Oh yeah.
the more eyes we can get on it, the better.
Lots of love. Thanks, man.
Of
Well,
course.
thank you, Piss Corpse, Bill. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me, man. This was great.
All right. Talk soon.
All right, take it easy.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description